Welcome. Welcome to Mountain Vista, Unitarian Universalist. I know waving's not bad either. I'm Reverend Matthew, and I'm your pastor. And I serve alongside Chris Tackett, our music director, Stacy Sosa, who is with our children in the nest, and starting today, Tay Safe Haven, who is our new coordinator of engagement. Yeah, I think there's also kind of a wonderful hand waving and welcome. And you'll be learning more about what their job is among us as we go into the next couple of weeks. Together, as your minister and your staff, we welcome you here to Mountain Vista, as you are, whole and beautiful, learning and growing, and joining us in a faith that believes how we treat one another. It really matters. It makes a difference in our world. Here at MVUU, our shorthand for that is engage, love, transform, and we write it pretty much everywhere to remind ourselves. And here is what that means to us. Today we are hosting Helen Gomez, the Executive Director of the Ben's Bells Project. I'm grateful that she's here with us, sharing the history and the purpose of her nonprofit and the meaning of its well-known motto, "Be kind." And if you're wondering, yes, she has brought bells and really cool stickers to sell to you all after the service. Thanks for being here, Helen. I'm grateful, too, to the many, many people, nearly 20 in all, that help us create Sunday mornings. From the welcomers who greeted you, to the AV team making sure that you can see and hear, to the hospitality team who offers us refreshments following the service. While many of them are behind the scenes, it takes all of their time and talent and treasure to make a genuine welcome for you all. And so thank you, all of you. We open our hearts in welcome each time that we gather. With this in mind, I invite all of the in-the-roomers to turn and wave at our camera to welcome all of our online Zoomers. And Alex will pan so that they can see us, and we can even maybe see some of them as well, yeah. Whoever you are and whenever you are watching our service, know that you are welcome. And so now, with all of you who are present, I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and greet one another. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. It's good to see you.
Hey
Good
there.
morning.
Good to see you. You're by yourself today.
Thanks for that. And thanks also for playing during the video that you were recorded playing on. That was really cool, kind of fun. Thanks. We ignite the flaming chalice, the symbol of our faith, on Sunday mornings, alongside thousands of other congregations across the world. And more geographically located, the three other congregations here in southern Arizona. The UU Church of Tucson, Sky Island UU in Sierra Vista, and Borderlands Unitarian Universalists down in Amado. They are, with us, what we call the Baja Four. We are interdependent congregations that strengthen one another and our communities out here in the desert. We craft common themes for our Sundays that reflect the meaning and spirituality of our life here in the Sonoran Desert. This month, our shared theme is collective liberation. And our earth teacher are the bees. Working together in interdependent community, bees join in the blossoming of the entire world, bringing color and fragrance and fruit to bear for all. And so I light our chalice in the spirit of these, our earth teachers, with these words by my retired colleague, the Reverend Deborah Falk. And we're going to put those up for you to see as well. A chalice lit among us is a beacon of hope in a world in crisis, a beacon of possibility made manifest in community, a beacon of warmth through our interconnections, a beacon of light illuminating our shared wisdom, a beacon of connection by our being together. It is good to gather. And that connection of being together is shared and strengthened each week through our ritual of joys and sorrows. It's a ritual of kindness, And we reenact the pouring out of ourselves with water that we've collected from the different journeys and homes of our lives, as well as from the Sonoran skies. And we offer and listen to our joy and our sorrow from the individuals here among us. And we'll drop in stones then for those events that make our hearts sing and for those that are painful and heartbreaking. And we do this ritual so that we can respond with kindness. We can respond with celebration. We can respond with comfort to lessen sorrow and to enliven our days.
So, good morning. It is my pleasure to report on Hobie Denny. He wishes to share that he is happy to report that his hip surgery went well, and he's glad to be in inpatient rehab at the VA. He's enjoyed the calls and visits he's had, and he anticipates being home by Friday in time for his birthday. The concerns today are for Conrad Paul is in Northwest Hospital after sepsis and complications from kidney stones. He'll be there several days, but expects a full recovery.
In addition to what we've heard, I will add stones for joys unspoken and more for sorrows unnamed. We are aware that so much is in the hearts of those here, those in our community. We are aware. And in response, we would seek to be kind. We would seek to listen and celebrate. We would seek to comfort and lessen suffering. Helping our community in all of this work is our Pastoral Care Committee. We are here to listen. We are here to respond with the services of our congregation, and if you wish, we will then speak your joy or your sorrow on Sunday mornings. We are here to lead our faith community in celebration and comfort. We are here to lead in kindness. Our hymn, number 315, This Old World, will begin our service together. Joel, as our song leader, will be taking us into this, and I invite you all to rise in body or in spirit. The words will be projected.
This whole world is full of sorrow, full of sickness, weak and sore. If you love your neighbor truly, love will come to you the more. We're all children of one family, we're all brothers, sisters too. Cherish one another, love and friend will come to you. This old world can be a garden full of fragrance, full of grace. If we love our neighbors truly, we must meet them face to face. It 'tis said, now love thy neighbor, then we know well that is true. This the sum of human labor, to hear me as well as you.
I invite you now to a time of contemplation, of considering and pondering the science of kindness. During this service, tucked in here and there, with the faces and wisdom, are people who are busy making this old world more kind. Writers, singers, actors, religious leaders, conservative philosophers, and liberal politicians. And despite all of their wonderful, beautiful differences, the bee in their collective bonnet is indifference and cruelty. They all believe kindness is a core value for human life. So the majority of these quotes come from the Random Acts of Kindness Foundation, who do more than just gather quotes from famous people. They research the impact of kindness on communities and the science behind it.
Studies have shown that if you perform just one random act of kindness a day, you'll not only reduce your stress, anxiety, and depression, but your body is flooded with the same hormones that make you and the person you've helped calmer, healthier, and happier. Serotonin, which heals your wounds, helps you relax and makes you feel good. Endorphins, which reduce pain. And oxytocin, which reduces blood pressure and makes you feel more loving and loved. You'll both be more energized, feel less aches and pains, more confident, and could even live longer. And if other people see you helping someone else, they'll be filled with those same feel-good hormones, meaning they're significantly more likely to pay it forward. Like taking that extra moment to hold the elevator for someone, spotting a coffee for a stranger who's just a few cents short, giving your neighbor a hand with their groceries, even just smiling and meaning it. It doesn't take much, but it can make a huge difference for everyone. Those people you've helped will help other people, and those other people will help even more people. And those random acts of kindness can start a chain reaction that can spread across an entire community, a city, a country, and with enough of us, the world. Now, isn't that the world we all want? And it all starts with one.
So think just a moment of that. Human beings, through kindness of all sizes, grand gestures, or just a smile, create more and more kindness through our daily interactions. Well, we know too, in fact, Helen just shared with me this morning that it's not always true to just be able to do a random act of kindness. Sometimes the oppressions among us, racism and sexism, and other things that stand in our way, these gaps, they actually prevent us from even allowing another person's kindness. And so the call in the science is to do more than just be kind. It's allow for kindness, invite it, open to it, seek it in the stranger, expect it from one another. It's in our biology, our evolution as a species. And should we choose it, kindness could be our future. Forgive me. In my excitement in having Helen Gomez with us, I completely skipped over her part in the service. Helen, I'm really sorry. I guess I'm thinking about all those wonderful vinyl stickers that you have waiting after the service. If you would, please join us here and share with us more about the Ben's Bells Project. Helen is a native Tucsonan who joined Ben Bells just back in 2019. Yeah, as the executive director, please. Yeah, sorry about that.
I actually thought I was reading the schedule wrong, so it's fine. Hi, thank you so much for having me here. I am a native Tucsonan, and I had the daunting but amazing opportunity to step in for Jeanette when she decided to step down. So you should know that I was originally trained as a high school English teacher, so sometimes my high school English teacher comes out. So it may be a little more interactive where I ask you a couple questions. So first of all, who knows the story behind Ben's Bells? Just show our hands. Okay. And who's ever found a bell? I know at least, okay. Great. Okay, so let me go back, and I kind of like to do that so that I know, what I need to share. So let me go back to the beginning. So our story starts out sad. Our founder, Jeanette, her son, Ben, died just shy of his 3rd birthday. And it was just a virus. He died from croup and a complication with it. And as her and her family were dealing with the grief, there were 2 things that helped her out. Number 1, her and her friends got together in her garage and they started working on clay. And so it was art therapy. And it was working together on this common goal that really made her, got her through some of her tougher days. And so on the 1st anniversary of Ben's passing, they created these wind chimes, these ones right here, and they put about 400 out into the community. And we still do that today, and it says, "You have found a Ben's bell, take it home, hang it, and remember to spread kindness throughout the world." So we still do this today. We still honor that. And this is actually, there's only 2 ways you can get one, either finding one or, as I've heard, somebody here has gotten a few, you have to be nominated to get a bell. And so this big one, we'll sell little ones, but the big one you can only get, those are the 2 ways. So back to the story. The other thing that she realized was little acts of kindness really held her family together. So she was a professor at the time, and she told me about a story where she was going into a classroom, and some student just ran ahead of her and opened the door for her. And she said at that moment she was having a particularly hard day, and she just wanted to cry and hug him and tell him how much it meant to her. And she said, which of course he would have thought I was crazy. So I just, held on to that. But she really held on to the power of kindness. And so that's what we were founded on, is this belief that kindness makes a difference. And so I love the video that was shown because a lot of times we talk about at Ben's Bells, we have this conveyor belt of kindness. So if you think about something like this, we make these in our studio. We have an art studio where you can come volunteer, and you have to think about it. Somebody has to cut the clay, somebody has to paint it, somebody has to load it in the kiln, assemble it, tag it, actually put them out. So by the time these bells go out into the world, you've had about 12 hands who have helped to create it. So all those little tiny, seemingly innocuous acts of kindness are creating this piece that then goes into the world. And we get so many stories from people who have found these bells who talk about, I lost my job and I found this bell. Or, I was having a particularly hard day and I found the bell. And so we often say that the bell actually finds you. So that was one part of what we do now. We have a community art studio where people can come in and you can volunteer. And we actually host a lot of field trips and groups. And so part of it is not just volunteering. We actually talk about kindness and the effects of kindness. The other thing I love about the video was Jeanette, when she stepped down, she actually said she wanted to step down because she wanted to take a break. And anybody who has ever met Jeanette, her idea of taking a break was completing her PhD program. So she's now Dr. Murray. And the wonderful thing about that is at the U of A, she has created a Center for the Science of Kindness. And so that's such a beautiful partnership that we have now with them, because we also have an education component to Ben's Bells where we go out into schools, and it's called Kind Campus. And what we do is we teach students about the positive impacts of practicing kindness. Now, we teach that to everyone, but we find that the research has shown that students in the school age, elementary school age specifically, if you can catch them early and teach them this, they're more likely to practice it. So we do that. And so the programming is free to anyone who wants to sign up. And what it does is it gives teachers just easy ways to incorporate kindness into their programming, into their daily life. So just, it could be a little act, it could be a quote, it could be whatever. But the science has taught us that you have to keep it at the forefront, right? Kindness doesn't come naturally to everyone. And so sometimes it's just like walking. You didn't just get up as a baby and you were able to walk. You had to practice. And kindness is the same thing. It's a practice. The other thing we like to say is kindness, it's not easy. So sometimes I feel like kindness gets, because we have these beautiful, bright, colorful, and sort of whimsical ornaments, people get this impression that kindness is somehow soft. And it's not. It's actually, there are times, kindness, yeah, there are the times when you get to get all the feels and all the kindness, and it's wonderful. But kindness is also, it's hard. It's having conversations that maybe are uncomfortable. It's, we have this slide that better describes it, but there's this picture of this woman who's got all of this food in her teeth. So the nice thing to do would just be ignore it and don't say anything. But the kind thing to do would be actually to have the courage to tell her. Now, if it's a friend of yours, maybe that's easier. But if it's a stranger, it's a little more difficult. It takes a little more courage. And so that's what we like to say is kindness is it's having those difficult discussions. It's if a coworker is showing up regularly late and it's affecting other people around them, it's having that conversation. Because in the end, the goal is going to be very beneficial to them as well as you. And so it's those tough discussions. And we were talking about this beforehand. During COVID, we had to have a lot of difficult discussions. There were so many things going on. And we at Ben's Bells were particularly sensitive to that because it was I like to say just a virus, because Ben died from just a virus. So we were particularly very sensitive to that. But also during some of the protests, what Robin was referring to was I had a board member who was African American. And he wrote this wonderful op-ed piece where he talked about the fact that as a black male, sometimes he wasn't even afforded the opportunity to show other people kindness because they were already prejudging him. And because of the way he looked, and they knew nothing about him, they were scared or they were apprehensive or whatever. And so he said, you know, we have really, as an organization, tried to get that point across. Kindness is for everyone. It's for everyone. It's inclusive. So that's what we teach at Ben's Bells. We do our volunteer, we do our programming, our Kind Campus. We do it for also for businesses, because we all know that in any workplace there can be challenges that involve some kindness challenge. We do murals. I'm sure if you've driven around town, we have about, not just in Tucson, but majority in Tucson, we have about over 250 Be Kind murals around town. So we do those, and those are amazing because talk about a conveyor belt of kindness there. We have people who make the tiles, who install them, who paint them, everything like that. So that's also what we do. And then, of course, you'll see that we have Shop Kind, which is our merchandise, and that helps fund our Kind Campus programming so that we don't have to charge for that. And everything in our shop is kindness related. So we practice what we preach at Ben's Bells. We try to have a very inclusive workspace where people can come and feel included, no matter where, what your background is. And so the other thing I just wanted to say quickly is it was just this week. It's interesting that I am coming here to talk about this because just this week we actually remembered Ben's, it would have been now 24 years. He would have been, which strikes me as a mom. I have 2 high school kids. I have a 15-year-old and a 14-year-old. And I think about it, and it gives me just, you start sort of tearing up. Ben would have been 24 years old this year, just this last week. And so I think, I know I do because I'm always out talking about Ben's Bells, Ben's Bells, Ben's Bells, but I often catch myself and I stop and I think, oh my gosh, Ben would have been 24 years old. And so I think what I would just like to leave you with is I'm going to give you the same challenge that I give my when I do this presentation to 4th graders. And the one challenge I leave them with is I challenge you to do something kind for someone who is not in your immediate circle. So somebody who's not your friend, who's not your family, although sometimes it's hard to be kind to our family, but somebody who's not in your immediate circle. Go out there and do something kind for them because you don't know what's going on in other people's lives. And most of the time, when we face somebody who's a bit challenging, it's not about us. It's about something that's usually going on in their world that we know nothing about. And so that little impact of your little act of kindness could make such a ripple effect. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Among many things, June is National Pride Month, celebrating our lesbian, gay, bi, transgender, and queer heritage, current culture, and future together. Well, here in Tucson, we celebrate Pride in late September and early October through our Baja Fort Connection. We have an opportunity to join with Sky Island for Pride in Bisbee, Arizona. On June 15th, our Baja Fort congregations are joining in the Bisbee Pride March and Festival, and Lee from our congregation is looking for anyone who might like to carpool with them. If you're interested in joining in, contact Lee or Reverend Tina Squire, pastor of Sky Island Unitarian Universalist, directly. We begin our recognition of our LGBTQ heritage with pride. In this responsive reading, Remembering Where We Come from the Rabbi Heather Miller. Please join me in the words on the screen. We pause now for moments of memory for those who came before us. We remember you. Whether by challenging the system or by changing it from within.
Whether by actively sharing your ideas with broad audiences or by quietly affecting individuals one at a time.
Whether by looking outward to help others understand us or by looking within to help make ours a better community. You brought us forward.
Even under the pressures of physical pain and torture, of economic devastation, or political failure,
You braved it all.
Each of you had in your essence your talented endeavors and elegant movements,
Your clever words and dignified existence,
your dedicated heart and focused mind,
your infectious smile, your quirky ways.
in all your persevering spirit brought others forward behind you and moved us all a little closer to a world that more fully celebrates love.
Your contributions are remembered. You are remembered. And your memory is a blessing. In the silence of the moments that we will hold together, may we recall the memories, feel the blessing, and know the pride of our LGBTQ heritage. Let us wonder and ponder silently. How has the loving kindness of all of those who have come before us been a gift to our lives? Our next sacred song is filled with loving kindness. Joel will lead us. Please remain seated. Please just allow this to be among us.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May kindness. May we be well, may we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
After I turned on my microphone. Many years ago, I was driving my 3 youngest sons to the downtown Children's Museum. Do you know it? It promised to be a fun morning among the various exhibits, playing and learning, which when you homeschool is pretty much the same thing. Stephanie and I owned a minivan back then, and 2 of the 3 boys were still in their car seats. Magnus, only 4 then, the youngest and the smallest, was safely facing backwards. You could still see his brothers, and so he was joining in a lively conversation about the Curious George movie, which we had watched just the night before. Do you know that movie? Some of people are nodding, and yeah. In the break in their conversation, I heard Magnus's voice reach out and ask, "Dad, do you know what irony is?" So shocked, I nearly crashed. There was absolutely nothing to prepare me for his question. I wasn't even sure at the moment that I knew what irony meant, let alone how to explain it to my son, as well as the 2 others who now were intently listening. And yet, as parents do, I tried my best. It's when someone acts or says something, I slowly replied, defining it as it was tumbling out of my mouth, acts or says something the opposite of what they mean, sometimes, most times, to be funny. And that sounds pretty good today, and it seemed to satisfy Magnus and his brothers at the time. But it's not the answer that has stayed with me, but rather my shock at the question. Well, it's entirely likely that irony was mentioned in the previous night's movie, but not that recalling the antics of an animated chimpanzee would have made me any less surprised at the time. My shock wasn't that my kids were asking questions out of nowhere like, why is the sky blue? All kids do that. We did that when we were the kids, and in many ways, as adults, we still do. I don't think I was shocked because his question was really rather impressive for a young person. Most questions children ask are really pretty worldly to begin with. Why is the sky blue, for example? Turns out to be a question about the physics of light refraction in relation to the biology of the human eye. Now, they don't know that, but they know to just ask us questions. I honestly suspect the shock arose because I had never really thought about his question before. I never really thought, well, what is irony? And it turns out irony is pretty complicated. What I told my sons isn't a bad start. When someone says or acts in a way opposite of what they mean, most of the time to be funny. But I've since learned about those times when people aren't trying to be funny. And there's a questioning irony then. And that's when you pretend to know something less than someone in order to find out what they know. And there's tragic irony, when we witness another's actions that counter what they want or even what they need. Questioning irony is a strategy often used in debates, while tragic irony is a tool of dramatic storytelling. Whenever we read a book or watch a play or a streaming series and witness when a character's actions prevent them from achieving what they really want. And I knew none of that. And yet I had some kind of awareness at having experienced these other kinds of irony. Because I've seen that pretense of not knowing used in all kinds of arguments. And just the night before, we had watched Curious George, whose actions worked totally against that banana that he desperately wanted. It was painful and tragic to watch. Somewhat aware of these things about irony, I still could not have named them at least well. And so I felt shocked and surprised. I fumbled a little, but I recovered just enough that nothing ironic happened in the moment. In fact, the opposite did. My son asked a direct question, seeking to learn, and doing my best as his dad, I was able to answer directly. And that's communication at its best. When we seek to know more about the world, more about each other, without saying or acting in the opposite way of what we need, without really hurting one another. We reply with just enough knowledge and experience to make some sense of the world together. That's why we ask questions. It's not because of what we already need to know, but what we want to learn. Like, why is the sky blue? Where do babies come from? We have the OWL program for that. Or even, why do I have to be kind? If our current public discourse is any indication, you don't have to be kind. You can choose to be mean and rude and callous and indifferent, unkind, as evidenced in a much longer thesaurus of behavior seen in our public figures today. It's a kind of frenzied unkindness that these public people and organizations have that are active in our news feeds 24/7. And for me, it seems like it's influenced our daily interactions with people that we know and with strangers on the street. Now, this is nothing new for people of color, or gay or lesbian, bi, transgender folk, or women. Y'all have long experienced this unkindness in the media and on the street. And so I must admit, as a white, straight man, it is something that I've been aware of, and yes, I've challenged it and sought to change it, but I've never thought to articulate it this way before unkindness reached the scale, the magnitude it has among us today. As I see it, public unkindness is crossing over into verbal and emotional abuse, which is more and more tolerated. And when requests for decency have been made, the unkind response has sounded something a little like this: don't be a snowflake. Get out of the kitchen if you can't stand the heat. No. 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 Kindness isn't delicate or fragile, unable to weather the heat of conflict. It is a resolution to act and to lessen the suffering in the world. And it could be a means to our freedom, to our collective liberation. This old world is full of sorrow, full of sickness, weak and sore. That's been acknowledged for centuries by different faiths and different teachers. Buddhists recognize sickness, old age, and death as a reality and life, and their response, may you, may we be filled with loving kindness. In response to the suffering in the world, Taoists translate the Tao Te Ching to say, kindness in words creates confidence. Kindness in thinking creates profoundness. Kindness in giving creates love. And in his 4th century ministry to the marginalized and the poor, St. Basil the elder of the Eastern Orthodox Christianity, said, "A tree is grown by its fruit, a person by their deeds, and good deeds are never lost. Those who sow courtesy reap friendship, and those who plant kindness gather love." In these spiritual traditions, kindness is a choice of how to be in the world, to take action, and to lessen suffering, to relieve us of the reality of the world. And science even tells us that just meeting another's gaze and smiling at the human being who is there, it not only lessens their suffering, but it has the possibility of spreading kindness. It sounds wonderful. It sounds like the world that we want to live in, but as Helen has told us, it's not an easy choice to make. And this is something that our faith tradition, we Unitarian Universalists, are currently discovering. Nationally, within our Unitarian Universalist Association and here in our local congregations, there has arisen unprecedented unkindness. Later this month, at our General Assembly of all of our congregations, we will be voting on a bylaw change, a change for that collective institution of our Unitarian Universalist Association. It's been a long, multi-year process flowing out of our commitment to set aside doctrine and creed and be a living tradition that learns and changes and evolves. The bylaw in particular is Article 2, which includes our 7 principles, our 6 sources, and the stated purpose of our Unitarian Universalist Association. And that means there are some really important values in Article 2. As my friend and colleague, the Reverend Dan Harper, skillfully notes in his blog, a problem then arises. We're using a process designed for changing bylaws, and yet for many people, what we're really doing is changing their personal profession of faith. And if you're going to change a profession of faith, you really want to use a different timeline. Changing bylaws should be a time-constrained process, but changing a profession of faith should take all the time it needs. And within this problem, unkindness has arisen. The Reverend Kimberly Dubus, in her blog, laments, "It's gotten ugly, folks. There's been an escalation of name-calling, ad hominem attacks, and other negative language aimed at the very commission who's done the bulk of the work, as well as the president of the UUA and others who have spoken in favor of the changes. All of this has become even worse in the run-up to the final vote, which happens later in June. And I'm sorry to tell you, I've witnessed it. I've seen rudeness and callousness, indifference, unkindness directed from Unitarian Universalists to Unitarian Universalists in blogs, in emails, and in personal interactions. If you're feeling shocked, I know that feeling. In my over 20 years of ministry, I've experienced UUs acting in just astounding ways of kindness, and in utterly unkind ways as well. But I never expected to see that we could be so mean. It's painfully tragic to witness Unitarian Universalists, people that I love, act in ways that are counter to the very values of our faith that they love. And if you're wondering who's behaving this way, who is it that is acting unkindly and feels that represents our faith? Well, something I've discovered from my own reaction to the frenzy of public meanness where we know exactly who's voicing and acting unkindly, is that it really doesn't matter what someone else is doing. I choose to be kind. I can't control those infamous people or those politicians, but I can choose who I want to be. And so it doesn't matter who's being unkind. The choice to be kind is mine. And I've also found in this problem that we UUs are having, that we are causing ourselves, is that choosing kindness is also a way for me to take back my control. We do need to evolve and make change and grow our faith with intention, but we also need to discover how we can do that better. I found choosing kindness over reacting in kind with unkindness drops the stress of the entire situation. It eases the anxiety that people feel. It lessens the suffering that we're experiencing. This problem we've created for ourselves with our Article 2 process, I ultimately believe it will be good for our faith. If we approach it by living our core values, we will get there. But I don't accept that we need to be unkind along the way by any one or any side. I choose kindness. In a world where suffering exists, it exists. In a society that doesn't prize kindness. And in our own faith tradition today, as we struggle to live up to our highest aspirations, we have a choice. You have a choice. I choose to lessen suffering as best I can, to make the faith that I believe we want, to take back the society that we live in, and to ease the suffering in the world. And I pray that you can feel that as well and make a similar choice. That we be kind to the best of our ability and realize the world we long for. May it be so as we choose it to be. Our closing song, Come and Go With Me, comes to us from the long and very challenging, shameful period in American history, where human beings were enslaved in a caste system because of the darker hue of their skin. This spiritual names their yearning for freedom. On June 19th, 1865, Juneteenth, marked the end of the Civil War and the start of our discovering what it means to be the land of the free. Reverend Kimberly Dubois again notes that this spiritual became part of the rich blend of traditions that occurred in the American South, as sounds from Africa and Europe and the Americas found themselves woven together into a new music. Today, this song names our yearning for collective liberation. But this month, on June 15th, MVUU will have an opportunity to learn more as we have a booth at Tucson's Juneteenth celebration. It is our opportunity to show up, be present, and learn, and extend our faith community. Tay has already begun planning this and welcomes you to join in. We need to borrow an Easy Up awning, so if you have one to lend, please talk with them. But as we sing, I invite you to hold our history from where we have come and to imagine the world that we can weave working together. Please rise in body or spirit, and with Joel leading us, let us sing together.
Feel free to clap. Feel free to clap. Feel free to move. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be a freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be a freedom in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be a kindness in that land. There'll be kindness in that land. There'll be kindness in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be kindness in that land. There'll be kindness in that land. There'll be kindness in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound.
Yeah. We are very busy bees for this time of year. And so I want to invite you to, as you get refreshments, check out the many things available in our Oasis. We have information about a new peer grief group, so please look at that and sign up if you're interested. We have, of course, Ben's Bells Project, and we have coffee out today, so please make sure that you stop by. We have several other announcements. And we actually call this announcement creep. We are trying to find different ways, and I've sprinkled them through the service in order to make announcements a lot shorter and a lot easier to listen to. So I will be singing a few of these, just to make sure that you're all paying attention. As you go out of our service today, you will see a wooden bowl and a woven basket for your financial offerings. The bowl is for our congregation, a container for your gifts to support the work of our church. The basket is for a local organization that we select each month doing the work we would see here in our area. Our woven basket partner this month is Youth on Their Own, supporting the high school graduation and continued success of youth experiencing homeless here in Tucson and Pima County. All of your gifts, the wooden bowl or the basket, are gratefully received. On June 9th, following our service, we're going to have to talk about this later, huh? Robin Valsell, our board secretary, will call us to order. I didn't write a song, just so you're sure you know. I'm not. At 12:30 p.m. for our annual meeting of reports, voting of our slate of officers, and the budget for next church year. And Summer has an additional announcement to share with us. Plan about an hour for that meeting, please, so that we have time to do all of our business together.
Good morning, everyone. I'm not singing.
So next week, the election for the proposed slate of board and elected committee positions will be held on June 9th. We know that some of you will not be here in person and being able to participate in voting in person. And so for that reason, we have the absentee ballots. So again, my name is Summer Adi. I'm a member of the nominating committee. My printer did not work this morning, so I'm using my phone. So for those of you who will be at the service and will need an absentee ballot, you can get it then if you're not planning on staying for the meeting afterwards. For others who are away from Tucson, please contact Stephanie Morales, the administrator, and she will send you a ballot either by mail or electronically. And send your request for an absentee ballot to administrator@mvuu.org. It's also in the newsletter. And then if you would like to get one after the service, please meet me outside of the office, which was locked, and hopefully I will be able to get you an absentee ballot at that time. Thank you.
Thank you. On June 16th, Jamelia Omar, our Baja 4 ministerial intern, will be here preaching on a final farewell tour. She's not actually leaving, she's just no longer going to be our intern. She's completed that internship and has been approved for fellowship by the UU as a UU minister. She will be ordained at the UU Church of Tucson next fall. But to join in our celebration, we invite you to contribute generously to her farewell gifts from the Baja 4. So you can put a check with MVUU with Jamili in the memo line, place it in the bowl, or mail it to MVUU, or cash in an envelope labeled Jamili in the gift box on June 16th. General Assembly is going to be online. That General Assembly I was talking to you about. It is our annual gathering of the Association of Congregations. And this year and every other year going forward, it will be online. Our delegates, Steve and Lee and Ann. Ann, would you raise your hand and wave? And Lee, would you raise? And Steve is potentially online with us. Are fully participating and are learning about what's coming up for consideration this year. Please speak with them. And finally, CPR, first aid, Saturday, June 29th. Our newsletter and Miss Stacy have more information if you have questions. There is a fee for this, but we have scholarships so that this is open to everyone. Please consider coming and learning these, not just for here in our community, but for whatever community you are a part of. Thank you. In a moment, I'm going to invite you to rise for our closing and take the hand of those around you. And if today you're not comfortable with that kind of contact, we understand. Please just place your hands on your heart and we will hold you in respect and surrounding you. Without that touch, you are still held by this people and by our loving kindness. Please rise in body or in spirit for the releasing of the flame. Adam Slade is a candidate for UU Ministerial Fellowship in England, and he writes to us to envision when the great mosaic of humanity is treated with respect and dignity, when no person is threatened by hunger or war, when we have extended hospitality to the stranger and tended to the sick, when equity and justice reign everywhere, then we shall be free. We release this flame to hold that moment of freedom in our spirit and in our minds until we can make it real. Amen.